Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. I'm at a different place today. Haven't been down here for years, but I'm at a place called Dawes Point, which is situated just below the Sydney Harbour Bridge. As you can see, I've got the structure of the bridge above me. And I'm surrounded by a number of cannons and the beautiful Australian flag. And at this point, I would love to wish the Australian Rugby League team, the national team of Australia, all the very best for the World Cup final against Samoa on Sunday morning, 3am. And I'm sure that Australia, who are the long odds-on favourites, with a 92% chance of winning according to the bookies, I'm sure they're going to prevail, and not only prevail, but to win very, very well, and to bring the World Cup title back home to Australia. What I'd like to do today, like I normally do every single morning, is to deliver another episode of Jim's 5am Club, where we go through and discuss OPE, other people's experiences, in the form of a book summary today. So I'm going to go through a book summary, a book written by an author named Gabrielle Bernstein. And the book summary is entitled "The Universe Has Your Back." And it's a book summary which focuses on spirituality, something which is very, very lacking in today's world. We talk about living a balanced life, but people seem to not focus on the most important element of living a balanced, fulfilled and happy life, and that is having a level of spiritual maturity. Because when I look around, when I discuss with people, now you do identify that we're all on a path to growth and development from a spiritual perspective, but many of us, even if the fact that we're older in years, we're mature in years, we are spiritual pygmies and very immature when it comes to the aspect of spiritual awareness and spiritual maturity. So this book takes a path, takes a journey into looking at the spiritual elements of one's life and highlighting some of the challenges, some of the issues, and some things that we can do to broaden our spiritual development and our spiritual perspective, so that we at least can grow and develop to a point where we have a level of maturity to experience and appreciate the spiritual elements and aspects of one's life. So the author, and I guess my parents, my grandparents, my godparents, my community, uncles and aunts, over the years have invested in my spiritual development from a very young age. I am Greek Orthodox, and spirituality, Christianity, is a centerpiece of a way of life for Greek Orthodox. So for me, I at least have a basic appreciation gained through family, gained through church, and gained through the various generations that I grew up with. And my role as a parent and as a grandparent is to link the past 3 generations with the next 3 generations, and to hand down, where possible, the lessons of the past to the children, grandchildren, and further generations, so that those spiritual lessons that were learnt over time, that OPE, the experiences, the spiritual experiences learned over time, can be captured, preserved, and passed on. Because each person lives a different past, each person is unique in their lives, each person is going to experience a different now, and each person is going to experience a different future. But one of the advantages of being part of a family unit, being part of a culture, being part of a religion, is that you don't have to invent the wheel with every generation and make the same mistakes as previous generations. But you can use those generations, you can use the lessons learnt from the hardships of others, so that you can grow and develop and have a better life without having to get tangled, tripped up and trapped by the challenges of the past. Because one thing for sure and for certain is that human nature doesn't change all that much from the days of Adam and Eve, from Cain and Abel, from Joseph and his brothers. There are challenges that each generation faces and will continue to face. And it's just a normal part of growing up. It's a normal part of existing in this world today. And as we said before, there are certain lessons that we need to take on board, certain things that we need to appreciate and to accept, rather than to try and learn and find out from the basic building blocks. So what we can do is, what I'm suggesting, is to take what is given to us from our parents, our grandparents, and our forefathers, the spiritual lessons, the life lessons, the life hacks, and to add to them, to accept them, to add to them, to grow them, rather than to try and find our own new path, which will eventually get us back on the path of our forefathers, but we would have lost valuable time along the way. Because each of us have a time allotment to find God, to find ourselves, and to become the best version of ourselves. So the earlier you start, the better off you're going to be, because you've got a head start. And I cherish my Greek Orthodox background, my culture, because I have been given, my family has been given, my children, my grandchildren have been given a head start in an aspect of life, in some life hacks that other people may never even get to the starting blocks with. So it's all about using, embracing, and incorporating our spirituality so that we can live happier and more fulfilled lives, and to finally understand, and it's a big lesson to finally understand, that in this world of consumerism, of individualism, that happiness doesn't come from things, happiness doesn't come from having lots and lots of trinkets. There are some basic elements that lead to happiness, and worldly pleasures can never complement for lack of spiritual maturity, which having a lack of spiritual maturity can lead to a meaningless existence, can lead us to living a life which is taking us nowhere. Anyway, I'll continue walking and talking. These poor guys think that I'm videoing them for some particular reason, but hopefully we'll see them catch a fish or two. But the key message from this book, the key message from this author, is that we need to connect with spirit in a world dominated by distraction. So the first point that comes from this book, this first point that comes from this wonderful author, is that meditation and prayer are a cure, are an important cure that we need to incorporate and use. And what we'll do is we'll continue walking and talking and go through what lessons this author offers us. So the author here says, and I agree with it, and I'm sure that nobody disagrees with it, that living in constant fear, uncertainty and doubt is detrimental to our health and to ourselves. Not only to ourselves, but it also influences the way we think, the way we behave, the way we interact. And it leads to anxiety, disconnection, stress and depression, potentially. I'm not saying that it'll guarantee it, but potentially it can lead to those ailments. So the key for all of us, and I learned this many years ago, is to connect to others through compassion, empathy and love. These lessons, these time-proven lessons, are key for each and every one of us. And the author here reminds us, not in so many words, but I'm incorporating it in my vlog here, that we need to connect to others, we need to connect with God, and we need, to a certain extent, to embrace solitude and to incorporate prayer, because as we're saying here, that prayer can eliminate the paralysis of fear that many people feel, especially in this current world where we've got instant messages, instant messaging, we've got people constantly connected to influences, even though those influences have lightweight opinions that haven't been researched, but are popular. It's easy to say things which are popular, which are easy to understand, but life is complex. Life is complicated, and nothing is as easy as what people think. Because if it was easy, then everybody would be able to achieve it. Everybody would be able to do it. There we go. Got Luna Park over there on the other side. So let's move on and see what else we can learn from this author. But as we're saying here, we need to embrace spirituality to live a balanced life. I remember years ago when I was working at IBM, they talked about the life wheel, how to find a balance in life. We need to focus on our health, on our wealth, on our families, on our careers. But there was also a quadrant, there was also a section, a slither on that wheel, which was spirituality. And spirituality means different things to different people, but to a Christian like myself, spirituality means Christianity, living a Christian life, reading spiritual texts, going to church, being involved in charitable events, spending time with family and friends, glorifying God, and also serving our neighbours. So it's important to take that into consideration and to try and leverage it where possible in order to make the most of the gifts, the gift of truth that we've been offered in our lifetimes. Let me go for a walk around this way. I haven't been around here before. I think it takes us around to a place that used to be known as Pier 1. I remember coming down here as a young man with my wife, who was then my fiance, and grabbing pizza and enjoying the views. This was the in place back in the 80s. So the author goes on to talk about prayer and meditation, but I will focus on the prayer aspect because of my Christian background. Others tend to focus more on meditation, but I'll focus on the prayer aspect. As mentioned, still got a beautiful view from down here. I remember coming down here for a 50th birthday celebration in this particular location here for Theo Drivis. But it's lovely here. Look at these tables. You can just sit here, have a cocktail or two, and just watch the sunset go down over there in the west. So in terms of prayer, according to this author, and how to access and leverage and embrace your spiritual side, the author talks about the importance of preparing yourself and your mind before prayer. You need to be calm, you need to be relaxed, you need to be grounded, you need to be centered, and you need to be present and free of assumptions, fears, prejudices, and negativity in your requests. Quite interesting, quite powerful, and something which is easier said than done, of course. You need to be clear in your prayer and use positive emotions. One thing that I've learnt, I think, over the years is that in order to live a Christian life, you basically need to be optimistic, you basically need to be positive, you need to live with positive expectancy. So there's a lot of good that comes out of it, because it does prepare you, it does put you in the right mindset to be able to live a better life, a life which is less stressful, because you have your limits. You do things that make you feel better, make you feel good. Because as we said here, at the end of the day, the purpose of a Christian life is to do two basic things: to glorify and serve God through your actions, not your words or your thoughts, but through your actions, to do godly acts, things that are God-pleasing, and also to serve your neighbour. And your neighbour includes your family, your friends, and people that you don't know, through charitable events and working an honest life and living an honest life. We need to use our gifts. Each person is different from each other. No two people are the same. So we're all called to use our gifts, our charismata, as they're called in Greek, to serve God. We become wealthy for a reason. We become educated for a reason. We are healthy for a reason. And that reason is to use those gifts, those advantages, those things, I guess is the best way I can describe it, those gifts, to use, to leverage, to embrace those gifts, to be a partner in God's program, in God's project, which is to bring people together, to preserve the environment, to preserve creation, to celebrate creation, and to make each of us feel as if we belong and we're all part of the one family, the one Adam and Eve sourced family. And to be a steward, as I said, to be a partner in God's program, in God's project, to keep it going and to keep people, as we said, connected to each other, and hopefully to be shining beacons, to be examples, to help other people be led on the path to God and to godly works for a better tomorrow. So the last thing that the author talks about here is that we should submit to God's will. To submit means to let go of the reins. By all means, have the right goals, the right values, but to accept that each person's going to have a different path in life. Some people's path will be direct, A to B, and others will be a meandering path like the one I'm taking today, where we go from A to B in a winding way. You know, we go from bend to bend, and each bend is a test, because for many of us, we see the bend and we think it's the end of that journey, but it's only the end of a short path to that journey until we get to the bend and we see another path leading to another bend. So our faith is going to be tested at each bend, at each section, but we are called to walk the path with positive expectancy and to accept God's will along the way, and not to worry about things that we can't change or control, because acceptance at the end of the day is liberation. You need to get older. You need to live a number of years of life to understand and to realise that acceptance is true liberation. And the more you fight life, the more you don't accept life, the more it's going to fight you back. And sooner or later, it's going to beat you. It's going to win. Even though we get short wins along the way, thinking that we are the center of the universe, thinking that we can control our destiny and our future, the bottom line is that if you fight life, life will fight you back and life will win. So we need to accept, we need to submit to life and to learn how to surf. Learn how to surf, it's a great analogy, because there'll be sets of waves that will come in on different days from different directions. Some days will be calm, other days will be rough. Sometimes the surf will be perfect, other days it'll be flat and there'll be no action whatsoever. But we're going to be prepared to surf, so when those sets of waves come in, to have your board, to know where the waves are coming from, to position yourself in a place to make the most of each of those waves, and to paddle hard, get on board and surf that wave for as long as you can and wherever it takes you. So this surfing analogy of life is a beautiful one. You know, we're going to get dumped every now and then. There's going to be turbulence. You know, there are risks out there in terms of sharks, rips, pollution, you name it. But we have to embrace, we have to let go of the reins and just surf those waves, those opportunities, as and when they present themselves. And to know that regardless of the situation, being human, being man, being a creation of God, having a logical and spiritual aspect to us, we are always going to find the answers. God will provide those answers because we are teleological in nature. We will always figure it out, as Marie Forleo, that famous author, says in her book, everything is figure-outable. So we're always going to figure it out. We'll make mistakes, but mistakes are okay. Mistakes are paths, are steps in our path to discovery. Discovering ourselves, discovering those around us, and discovering our purpose, our calling or callings. So the message for each and every one of us is to keep on going. Don't give up. You just don't know which door that you knock on is going to be the door that takes you to many other paths, many other doors with beautiful views and great opportunity. So the lesson from this author is to release ourselves, to accept, to be liberated, to release ourselves from the prison that is self-imposed. Don't stress and be flexible in our approach. As we said, and we say from time to time, be dogged in the goals that we set. Make sure that we understand our values, but by the same token, be flexible in our approach, knowing very well that we will need to change along the way, to paddle hard, to surf, and to make the most of each of those opportunities along the way. And to do only the things that you can do. And the things that you can't do, the problems that you face, the challenges, the risks, delegate all of those problems to God. Let Him sort it out for you. And as we said, don't fight life, accept it. accept God's will with honour, because according to this author and according to the scriptures and to the spiritual fathers, God's will and God is there to serve us, because God is the greatest servant of all. He loves us. He loves mankind. He loves creation. And He will give us, each and every one of us, the lessons that we require along the path to get us to where we want to get to, in a way that will help us shape who we are. And each person has a different lesson, because each person has a different plan. So the bottom line is trust in God and have faith in His providence. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me on this episode, this morning episode of Jim's 5am Club. It's a tricky topic. I don't think many people are comfortable talking about spirituality, talking about God, talking about these sorts of topics. As I say, I'm not a theologian, I'm not a priest, but I'm a work in progress Christian who is just looking to get better over time. And I found this book quite interesting and quite powerful, to tell you the truth, especially these days where it is very, very rare to be able to talk to anybody on the topic of spirituality, because most people are caught up in their own selfish desires, their own lifestyle that has been dictated by social media, being influenced by the harebrained influencers who have opinions on everything, but because of their I guess ego and focus on self-importance, they think that they know everything, but time will prove them wrong. We've seen them come and go all our lives, as my Uncle Angelo used to fondly say. So have a great Thursday, everybody. Wishing you all the best, and we'll chat again. And please, where possible, let people know of Jim's 5am Club. I've got 1,400 and close to 40 vlogs that I've uploaded to my YouTube channel, Jim's 5am Club. I am without doubt one of the most prolific vloggers in the world on personal development material, with a library of over 1,000 episodes where I walk and talk and I discuss OPE, other people's experiences that have been accumulated through books, seminars and various learnings. So encourage your children, encourage your friends to join my vlog, and we'll talk again soon. Yassas, take care, and bye for now.